Math, you should have a composition notebook. This is what we will be taking math notes in this school year. I want you to skip the first couple of pages. We're going to reserve those for table of contents. Okay, so skip the first 2 pages. Then I want you to turn it to the side. And we, most of the time in math, will use a 2-column note-taking method, okay? So you're gonna turn it to the side. I'm trying to figure out the best way to get this video. You're gonna divide this right down the middle, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so you're gonna divide your paper right down the middle. You're also going to take your pencil or your pen, and I like to use fun pens, but you're going to draw a line across the top horizontally. So you got a vertical line down the middle and a horizontal line across the top. And you can just trace that. Most notebooks have that red line. Okay. All right, so at the top, you're going to write standard. Okay, so and today's standard that we're going to be looking at is 5.NBT.1. Okay, and you will have an organized Google tab or Google folder that also is numbers in base 10. Okay, that you will keep some resources there as well. But we like for you to have handwritten notes as well, just because you learn them better when you write them with your hand. Okay, so this standard says you can recognize that in a multi-digit number, a digit in one place represents 10 times as much as it represents in the place to its right, and 1/10 of what it represents in the place to its left, okay? So we're not going to write out that whole entire standard. We're just going to give examples, okay? So, and we're going to take some shorthand notes. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to put a little star here. I'm going to put a digit in one place. We're going to break this standard apart. Represents 10 times as much as it represents in the place to its right. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to draw an arrow. Over here, we're going to give an example of that. Okay, so for example, in the number, and in 5th grade, we're going to get into decimals. And when we do this lesson together in 5th grade math, we will get into decimals. But today, we're going to do whole numbers just because we haven't explored decimals just yet. Okay, so I'm going to look at the number 123, and I'm going to use these lines. Always use these lines to help you with your place value, okay, to separate your place values. Okay, so I'm going to do 1,233. 1,233, okay? So this says a digit in one place represents 10 times as much as it represents in the place to its right. So if we look at this 3 in the tens place, it is 10 times more than the 3 in the ones place, okay? Now, I'm going to go back and color code this, okay? A digit in one place represents 10 times as much. 10 times as much. And I'm going to go over here and highlight the coordinating part. 10 times as much, 10 times more. My highlighter kind of bled on that, but that's okay. You don't have to have highlighters to do this. You can use colored pencils. You can use different color markers, different color pens. You can underline. You can do a lot of different things. Okay, so a digit in one place represents 10 times as much as it represents in the place to its right. Just to remind myself what that means, the place to its right. I'm going to highlight the word right with orange, and I'm going to highlight this arrow. Okay, and this is the place to its right. Okay, so 30 is 10 times more than 3. Okay, and I'm just going to make that little note down here. 30 is 10 times more than 3. That's just what that standard means. Okay? And then the second part of the standard says a digit in one place represents 1/10 of, or in 4th grade your language was 10 times less than what it represents in the place to its left. Okay, so we're going to go over here. I'm going to draw an arrow to give an example of that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to use the same number I just used, 1,233. This time, we're talking about how this 3 in the ones is 10 times less, or 1/10 the value of the 3 in the tens place. Okay, so I'm going to say, oh, and we need to label that little arrow, 1/10 of. And that's the language we use in 5th grade, is 1/10 of. So I'm going to go ahead and use that language. 1/10 of. But I'll still highlight over here, 1/10 of, or 10 times less. And then the place to its left. Okay, so we can summarize that 3 is 1/10 of, or 10 times less than 30. So 3 is 1/10 of 30. 3 is 10 times less than 30. And you learned this standard in 4th grade. You just learned it with whole numbers, which is what we reviewed today. You will learn this with decimals in 5th grade. Okay, so we will go beyond the ones place. We will break it into fractions or decimals of a number, and we'll talk about the value and how those place values still relate in the same way once you get down below the decimal. All right, I'll let you look at that. And get creative, get fun, get colorful, but make sure your color coding matters and it's not just to look pretty. Okay, make sure it matches. You need to see how I matched the yellow with the yellow, the orange with the orange, of what it means from the left to the right. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys.